everybody has piled onto this red ocean strategy of fighting in the bloody ocean of just spamming and spamming and spamming and spamming. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Carol. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing awesome.
Good. Glad to hear it. So we've been talking a lot about all the horrible emails and LinkedIn spam we get that is cold reach out.
Yeah.
And I thought it would make some sense for us to talk about that a little bit because, you know, you and I, being trained in sales long ago, I mean, really before there was an internet.
True. That is true.
Did things really differently than people do now, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So,
Sure.
you know, like I said, we get, I mean, I know I do. I could read you email after email after email. You know, I just got one. I get a lot of these on, we can improve your website. Hi, comma. I was checking your website, and then it's like filled in and highlighted at a different color. On behalf of this, my email address. And see, you have a good design and it looks great, but it's not ranking on Google, blah, blah. I'm an SEO expert, yada, yada, yada. And then again, hi, good morning. I'd like to follow up. Please let me know if you're interested so that we can share a call, or please share your WhatsApp number for easy communication. You know,
you're gonna give out your phone number.
Yeah, let me do that right away. I'm gonna get right on that.
Yeah.
That's just one example of, you know, I'm sure a few that we'll talk about here. You know, I know how it lands on me, but how does that land on you being somebody who's been in sales for 40 years?
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic case of doing the research and knowing your market and actually trying to make a connection. You know, those would work if I got an email. For example, if you got that email and you said, "Hey, I was looking at your website and I saw your content, and I actually and referenced one of your, I don't know, demo reels, or reference one of your speeches that you gave, and they actually took the time to, you know, look at the website." That actually, I may actually pique my interest and say, okay, well, they did some research. They know what I do. And if they said something like, "Hey, I know you speak on resilience and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I watched your TED Talk," or whatever it is, you know, it's like, make a connection somehow on that email versus a blatant, just, you know, blanket email. And I think that we're getting, and we talked about this, Carol, I think we're getting lazy. I mean, we're getting lazy. And you know, when I started out way too long ago, you know, we couldn't be late. We had to do all that footwork. We had to do it manually. We had to do all that research. We had to, you know, and we've lost that skill, you know. And I think with the more advanced sales teams that, you know, that I had the fortunate, you know, was fortunate to run or be part of, and the companies that were just best in class, they would never do this.
Right.
You know, and I think it's a question of what level are you at? And, you know, are you going to do business with somebody that's at that level, or are you going to do business with somebody that makes that connection, however they do it? It's just, at least try, right, Carol? At least try.
Yeah, well, exactly. And you know what this makes me think of is, I mean, really all this is, it's like the new direct mail, right? So we still get direct mail, right? And what do you do with it when you pick it up in your mailbox? It gets thrown out, put in the recycling. I mean, I walk in the garage and I dump it. I have to look through it to make sure there's something, you know, is it something I actually need that's come, and everything else gets dumped right into the recycling bin.
It doesn't make the house.
Exactly. It doesn't make it past the garage. And, you know, I think that what I'm curious about is how this happened. And I think you pointed that out already, right? It's laziness, because I mean, when did actual sales, doing your research, you know, when I started out in 1992 and was learning what it was to be a headhunter, you know, I was really highly trained, and it was steps, you know, well, you're going to first start talking, you know, calling candidates, and kind of here's how you do that. You know, do you remember having a conversation with us in the past? It was all to have to engage somebody in a conversation. Right?
Absolutely.
And nobody's engaging. And I shouldn't say nobody, because maybe that's 1% of people that send out emails that I'm even willing to have a conversation with.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, I think of all the time that's being wasted, and a lot of that is because people are selling AI.
Yeah.
Right? We can do this on AI. You can send out thousands of emails. Well, I'd rather have fewer emails and have them actually be quality, what we're sending out, right?
Yeah, I mean, we could be missing the boat here, Carol. I mean, in our generation, I mean, let's be real. I mean, we could be. I mean, maybe they're onto something. If you're sending out that many emails and the hit is 1%, you're still probably getting a lot. At least people asking for, information. I don't know. It just falls on us a little differently. The advice I would have would be, would be for people to at least have some kind of connection, at least do a little bit of research. I think it goes back, and I've said this in so many podcasts, and I know you have too. It's, we have to learn how to coexist with AI, have to coexist with technology. You and I grew up with technology just starting. So we had to learn how to coexist, right? I mean, we went from the pink while you were out messages to, where we are today.
Right.
Right? I mean, I remember that.
Secretary, take down all the messages and hand them off to you. Right.
Exactly. Oh, and you are like, if you got a big stack, you're like, yeah, ready to go. But, I think it really comes down to that. I think we have to learn as a business culture to coexist. It's not going to go away, and I'm all for it, by the way. AI, it's awesome. Technology, love it. Bring it on. I lived through it. I made a whole career out of what's the next shiny object, and that's okay. That's okay. But let's figure out how to coexist with it.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest thing. That's my biggest pet peeve. And I don't know if I have the answer. I just wish that, I tried to coexist with it. I would do that research. I would do the shortcuts. I would do all that, but then I would customize the email, or I would actually pick up the phone and talk to somebody. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I mean, you can kind of do both. That would be my advice. Do a little bit of both. And then hopefully you see those benefits. I certainly did pretty well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that, and I'm certainly not here to pan AI or say don't use it. What I'm here to say is AI is a tool. It is not as effective as it should be, or that it will be sometime in the future as it gets better.
Yep.
But I think often that's, to me, that's like the new shiny object, right? Everybody's chasing after it because that's what happens in tech, right? I mean, we can look back in the days of when, system software was really big. There's going to be a lot of people listening to this who are like, who's Pansophic? Who's Computer Associates? Right? But, who is KnowledgeWare? Who is that? Right?
Yeah.
What are case tools?
Right.
But, all those things were tools to help you run your business better. And I think that's ultimately what we're getting at here. These are, AI is just another tool, but you shouldn't look at it as a panacea.
I agree.
And I think that's what often happens. People think, ooh, let me grab that shiny object and that's going to fix all my problems. I call BS on that.
Well, it'd be like, here's a great example, right? So, I'm a keynote speaker. I speak all over the world, and I've got to build speeches, and I've got to do all that. And I write them.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly could just put in ChatGPT and say, hey,
write my talk for me.
Write a 45-minute keynote on building resilience. And I could do that. I choose not to, but that's me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fine line. And I don't know where, I think it's a pendulum that we just need to kind of settle in. Now, that being said, I'll be totally transparent. When I did a coaching agreement, a retainer coaching agreement, I put it in ChatGPT because I don't have any legal experience. I don't have any. So I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Right. And then bam, it's, 10 seconds later, I've got a template. And I'm like, well, that was pretty cool. So, it's hard for me I don't want to bash it. Like you said, this is not about it. It's not about it at all. I think it comes down to, if I had to put a bow around this whole segment, it would be, let's all learn how to coexist with the next shiny object, just like we had to do it all before, even in the 70s and 80s and 90s. I mean, look, there's always been a next shiny object. This is just another thing, right? It just happens to be really impressive and earth-shattering to use. I get it. But let's just let's just see if we can coexist a little bit. And my mantra, like, let's make that human connection somehow, not just bring out these emails that make no sense.
So what I wonder is who's sort of managing the people that are sending this stuff out, right? So if we have to give advice to someone, who are we giving it to, right? Is the CEO a Gen Z and they think, well, we grew up with technology, so we're just going to send, spam people out on LinkedIn and, an email or, whatever platform they're using. And, one would think that they would have some more experienced people on their board or as an advisor to say, yeah, this is really not going to be the most effective way to reach out to people, unless that's the business you're looking to build, right? I mean, do you think your former company, Splunk, how were you selling? Were you spamming out emails in LinkedIn to people?
No, we would never do that.
Or you think Oracle does that? SAP? Any of the, successful tech firms?
No, again, it goes back to, my comment before. If you're a high performance team, you're a high performance selling engine with a serious methodology, whether it be, Challenger, Sandler, whatever your methodology is. If you're running a sales process with 6-10 different subjects, then you're not going to be able to do this.
Yeah,
because you're going to have that collaboration. See, this is another thing we got to talk about here, because where's the collaboration on this? You really can't collaborate with your customer or your prospect if you're way off base. It'd be like me going into a client with a value stack that made absolutely no sense. Mm-hmm. Going into Norfolk Railroad with a Home Depot value stack. Right. It's like, okay, what the heck's going on here? Or just a general, value stack to say, here's how I understand your business and your methodology and your key board level initiatives, blah, 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 blah. I mean, how do you do that if you're just bringing out a general statement? They see right through it.
Well, they do. And, it kind of gets exhausting. With all this, and I'm not opposed to emailing people if it's quality.
No,
but a buddy of mine said to me a long time ago, there's usually 4 touch points. Now I'm curious as to if you think this is I don't think this is still going on. Call, email, call. Call 1, call 2, follow up with 3rd is an email, and then call again.
Yeah,
I think people are just email, and nobody's thinking about. Or taking the time. There's a million ways to get people's phone numbers. And granted, they may not pick it up because I often don't, but you can leave them a message, a good message, right?
Right, with your voice.
That's right, your voice. I got a LinkedIn connection request from somebody last week. Hi, Carol Schultz, comma. We've recently had success placing finance experts on networks like CBS, ABC, CNBC, et cetera. We're looking for a few more in the finance, not me, or consulting, yes, me, sector to work with, comma, would you be open to a conversation, ? So not only is that message on LinkedIn, I mean, run on sentence, improper grammar, improper punctuation, and I mean, hi, Carol Schultz. I'm thinking to myself, this person who was calls herself out as an Emmy-winning producer and reporter. I'm thinking, and you're producing this crap?
Yeah.
I mean, she's a journalist. How is she not looking at what's being sent out on her behalf?
I don't know. Maybe they're not producing it. Maybe it's just being automatically produced, and it's all a numbers game in that business. I mean, I had the same one. Could you kindly provide me with your website address? I will assess it and provide you with feedback on any existing issues, as well as suggestions on how to resolve them.
I got one of those today also.
First of all you got to do is Google my name and you get my website. So why do I have to provide my website? I mean, it's pretty much there. It's a public mm-hmm. domain. So, right away, delete. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, this is a tough one, Carol. This is a really tough one. It really is. And I mean, after really talking about this and doing the research on it, looking at where we came from, this is a tough one. This is a tough one for me to kind of grasp and say, what What's the solution? I think the train's already left. I don't think that this is going to stop. I don't think that, I think it's going to get more and more. So we're not going to stop it. The idea will be, what are the tiers, what are the levels of expertise that we want to engage in as a professional?
And it's funny, listening to you makes me think of, I'm sure you're familiar with the book, Blue Ocean Strategy.
Yep.
Right? So I'm thinking to myself, the whole sales strategy is now red ocean.
Yeah.
Right. So for those who are listening that don't know that, the red ocean is the bloody ocean that everybody's fighting for business in. Okay. The blue ocean is, for example, 2 examples I used in the book that everybody will know, is how Southwest Airlines came about and changed how people thought of airline travel, right? As well as like Cirque du Soleil. Circuses were the abuse of animals, just horrible. And they came up with something completely different, a circus with human beings. How cool. And it was fantastic, right? So that's the blue ocean for those listening. And, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, that's really what this is. Everybody has piled onto this red ocean strategy of fighting in the bloody ocean of just spamming and spamming and spamming and spamming. Like I said, both on email. And I mean, I probably once a week, I go through my junk mail, and there's a zillion junk mails that never even made it to my inbox.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately have to look through them because sometimes something actually ends up in the junk that shouldn't be. And it's just, I'm like, it makes me crazy having to take the time to do it. But I've generally got it down to, I can really just kind of scroll through and peruse it and I'll stop when my eye catches something that I actually need to throw into my inbox, right?
Right.
So it's maybe the answer for those who are listening is to start thinking about what's your blue ocean in sales.
Yeah.
How are you going to distinguish yourself and set yourself apart from all the other dreck that is going out? I mean, I don't know. That's like the $64,000 question, right? I mean,
I think that'd be the fun part,
right?
Right. That'd be the fun part for me. I mean, how do I make my offering so outstanding that they have to get back to me? How do I make myself, I always say, be bold, be brave, be memorable.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example of being bold, be brave, be memorable. And, this is a way that salespeople can be that. And again, I traveled in a different circle. I was very, very grateful and fortunate to be able to do that, to work with some of the best salespeople and the sales leaders in the world. And I think that's what we have to always strive for. And it's always good to great, but then there's always that one level. I always say outstanding. How do you get that outstanding, offer that somebody has to read that email? How do you do that?
It is the key. And, part of it, I think, is, and sometimes I'll look up if I can even find them on LinkedIn. And I'm thinking, how are you representing a company and your LinkedIn profile is so horrible?
Yeah.
I talked to somebody this morning and I looked at his profile and I said, how long have you been with this company? And he says, about 6 months. And there was nothing on his LinkedIn that said how long he'd been there or anything. And I said, well, what did you do before that? I was a traveling musician. And listen, bravo for him. I mean, he did a great job on the call, right?
Yeah.
But, and their reach out email to me was very good. I mean, it was enough to pique my interest to say, yeah, I'll have a call with you. And I think a lot of that is just, really what's being sent out is a lot of assumptions, right? The one who sent me this journalist, I thought, dude, if you just looked at my website and looked at my media page, you'd see I'm a regular contributor to Inc. I've written for Forbes, Fast Company, and a CEO World. What are you going to do for me? So I'm going to pay you thousands of dollars to, get me an interview on CNBC or something, or NBC. I don't know. This is not a good strategy. Maybe spend the money if you're going to use LinkedIn. That's another pet peeve I have. People, send you basically a pitch or what I know is going to be a pitch in the LinkedIn connection request. Then you get a pitch, 30 seconds later, basically, after if you accept the connection request. And
right.
I'm like, wouldn't it just be better to do the research? Just like you said, do some research and maybe, you pick up the phone and call someone. Introduce yourself. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm this. Do you have just a minute to talk? Or did you have just a minute so I can tell you why I'm calling? That's a really good strategy. That's a strategy I used for years in the search business. right? People, when you just start blabbering out information without asking somebody, do you have just a minute? Am I getting you a good or a bad time? That respects the person you're calling.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's the value, there's the whole value prop on this too, right? I mean, what is this worth? Mm-hmm. So this particular reach out from this gentleman, there's very little value. So if I was to engage, I would expect it to be pennies on the dollar. But if somebody came to me with information about me, and they actually looked at my site and said, "Hey, you've got, you need to, do this and do that, and I've got clients that have experienced this, and here are my numbers, and I'd love to talk to you about it if you have time. Here's my Calendly if you want to book 15 minutes with me or 10 minutes with me, blah, blah, blah." I would probably look at that and read it a couple of times, and say, maybe I should do that. But the value for the other stuff is just low value. Maybe that's what it is, Carol. That stuff that they're selling or trying to get, across, there's just no value in it. So it's just a numbers game. And that's how I look at it. It's like when I sold software and they say, it's expensive. And I say, yeah, because we solve really expensive problems.
Yeah, I know, right?
And, and you know what I mean? It's like, you get what you pay for kind of thing. And, they'd always look at me like, well, that's a weird answer. I'm like, well, we do. It's like, that's what we do. So if they're doing that, if they're solving expensive problems, then they should be doing it differently. Now, maybe these people are not. And that's really what it comes down to. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's me.
Well, I mean, I think I'm hoping that we've passed along enough of, not only our complaints about it, because, I have to wonder, like, who's actually opening this stuff up and responding to them, but that we've given out some advice on, here's what we think you should do. Because you need to really separate you need to separate the wheat from the chaff, as they say, right?
Yeah. And it's not even like double click, just single click. Just single click another level. And I think you'd probably get more responses, or at least, you get a response back and say, "Hey, give me your website. Let me check out what you do." That would be cool. And at least you got to leave in the pipeline.
Yeah. Good. All right. I got nothing more. We could beat this dead horse all day, but
yeah,
to avoid doing that.
No, I think it's an interesting subject. And I think like I said, it's not going away, and it's going to ramp up, and we just have to be able to coexist.
And of course, our contact information is always in both the show notes that go out on, Apple Podcasts and the other streaming services, as well as on YouTube, where somebody might just be watching this. So, you know what? If you got questions, reach out to us. We're happy to answer.
Or if you have another opinion,
yes,
I'd love to hear it. Yeah,
exactly.
Come on. Bring it on and debate a little bit. I'd love to see where you're seeing benefits and what results you have and the numbers. I would love to see that, because look, I'm a lifelong learner like you, Carol. I'm awesome. I'm all for it.
All right, Rob.
All right,
it's been
Carol.
real.
Good to see you.
Ta-ta.
Till next time.
Thanks for listening to Authentically Successful After Hours. I'm your host, Carol Schultz.
And I'm your co-host, Rob Swymer. Hey, don't forget to click follow to hear more. And please leave us an honest review and rating so we can continue to improve and bring you more great stories.
Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.